It's another Human First AI marketing podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week, a very special guest, Doug Sandler from turnkeypodcast.com. He is a podcasting magician, been doing this for a long time, and we have a lot of similar things in our background, so you're going to want to hang out and talk about this one. Mostly, I love that you host the Nice Guys on Business podcast, Doug, because I'm a self-proclaimed nice guy. And it's good when we finish first, right?
Yeah, well, if there's a quote on chapter 1 of the book, I wrote the book like 10 years ago, so I'm hoping I remember the quote. It's from Gary Shandling. It says, if you don't think nice guys finish first, you don't know where the finish line is.
Oh, I love that. I read your book, what was about 10 years ago. So when we got introduced to it as well, and have been checking out the podcast for a long time. And I think since we're both in this similar kind of range, we've been podcasting for, almost a decade, both thousands of episodes and stuff, to talk about how it's changed with AI in the last couple of years. For me personally, I think it's a lot easier, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think all aspects of podcasting has really changed, from the launch of the show to the building of the elements, everything from cover art to episode notes to graphics for the individual shows themselves, to the voiceover beginning and end. I mean, literally every aspect of podcasting and podcast launch, podcast production has changed. It has certainly made our job as professional producers a lot easier. A lot of people would say, well, did it eliminate your job? Well, it really didn't. There still has to be someone that has to manage all of that stuff that's going on. So AI has really helped us improve the quality of the content that's going out from launch to production itself.
Yeah, and I guess it opens up a whole new world of creativity, right? So I think one of the interesting things is you can now make anything and make it very fast. The question that comes to mind is, what should I make then? Or what's going to make an impact, or does anybody want to listen to, right?
Well, I think what it comes down to is not only just in the content creation, but it's in the marketing and promotion of the episodes when they come out. You know, do I take my content that I'm creating, audio and video, create short form video content, post it as YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook, posts as well? Do I not do any of that stuff? Do I do all of it now that I can do all of it? And my answer is always the same. You meet your market where they are. If your market is not on TikTok, then certainly why create short form video content for TikTok just because it's easy to do? It's one more thing that's easy to do, but it's a time suck. So you have to pick and choose carefully in this new AI generated world that we're living in.
What's your personal philosophy? I tend to lean towards, I'm going to be on the channels, LinkedIn and YouTube, that I prefer to interact with. And I might syndicate to the other ones, but I'm not going to spend time building an audience there, because I think, in my experience, if you try to build on 6 channels, you just get a sixth of the audience on each channel. If you build on one, you can do 6 times as well on that one channel, and kind of reach listeners that like being on LinkedIn or something. But what's your take?
Yeah, well, my take is slightly different, and I'm not going to be a contrarian to what you're saying. I think I agree with you. I think that it's important to go where your market is and not divide your market into smaller segments. But I really look at reverse engineering the goals that someone has when they get into podcasting. If somebody says, look, I'm into podcasting, I'm getting into it because I want to use it as a business development and a lead generation tool, then there are much more effective ways than spending all of your time, or even AI's time, or managing the AI it's putting together, putting all that content into digestible formats so that you can release it on those channels. So I really look at what somebody's goal is for podcasting. Are they in it to build community, to become an influencer? Are they in it to make money? Maybe a combination of all three. So we really do reverse engineer, and our job as producer has become more of as a strategist rather than as a producer for them. And anybody can produce content. I mean, the bottom line is you're taking AI and using it to edit, show notes, distribute. But the strategy behind that is not an AI generated thing. It's something that a human being needs to help the client, our client, discover what is the best way in which to get your message out most effectively based upon your goals for podcasting. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it takes it right to one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is you seem to be an expert in helping people make money with podcasts, and not just maybe brand visibility or feel good about yourself or establish thought leadership, but actually set up a program to make it a profitable venture, either with your marketing or with, sponsors and other ways to monetize a podcast. So I'm assuming that's one of the goals you're talking about, right? Whether
Y-
this is for fun
Def,
or profit.
definitely. I think the biggest challenge that we have as producers, as someone that's about to help someone launch and then produce consistently distributed content, is to get their head out of the ego metric of how many downloads or how many listeners am I going to have for this episode. A show that is micro niche, that is specific to a very small vertical market, let's say the legal market, for example. The legal market podcasts might only get 200 to 300 downloads per episode. But if it's the right 200 to 300 downloads per episode, the right 200 people listening, that turns into or converts to a client, whether it's through the guest seat or the audience, that could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of business for anybody that's in the legal market. It doesn't mean that you need to have 2 million listeners. I'd rather have 200 people taking action than 2 million people doing nothing.
Yeah, and I think that could be in a lot of different ways too. So I watched the session. I was going to do another one for the Podmatch people, and I watched your Podmatch session about how to make money. And there's a lot of different ways. People think sponsorships, I think first, but interviewing your ideal clients is a great way to do that, or referral partners, or other ways to make money are a lot more interesting than just somebody's going to pay me $100 for the cost per thousand.
Uh, 100%. I couldn't agree with you anymore. And I think about it, and I think, would I rather spend my time focused on the ego metric, which helps stroke my ego, or would I rather spend my time talking to an audience that actually is listening and willing to take action? The other side of the microphone, the guest side of the microphone, is a highly effective opportunity for me to. I call it the guest to gold strategy. You look for guests to become clients, referral sources, joint venture partners, affiliates, or this catch-all category that I call, I don't really know where they fit into my business world, but I loved having conversation with them and I want to continue the conversation. Those 5 aspects alone don't mention anything about sponsorship and advertising. I would say that our show generates probably about 5% of our revenue through advertising and sponsorship, and it's without creating another job. I don't want to go out there and start pitching advertising. I'd rather start talking about podcast production. The other 95% comes just out of the guest seat and my audience. And that's exactly where I want to help my clients realize where the big profit is in podcasting.
Yeah, and I think it's such a different way than most people think about it. But especially in today's world with AI, the content that you're creating is extreme value too. So I've interviewed somewhere around 40, sales and marketing experts about AI at this point. That can become a product. Those people can introduce me to other people. But, it's really tough to go viral and build a big show. I would say it's possible still, but you're probably, let's just say you're probably not going to have Joe Rogan type numbers. So if you have 1,000 downloads, is the $100 sponsorship or one client that pays you 60 grand a year?
Right. Totally agree. And I have to remind my clients many times when they start saying, hey, I really want to focus on growing my audience and growing the numbers and growing the download count. And I really come back to oftentimes, does it matter to you if you have 2 people listening to your show or 2 million people listening to your show, as long as you're making 3, 4, $500,000 of revenue through the course of your year? Are you okay with having a show that has a small audience and large revenue dollars? I mean, oftentimes people are they don't even understand the perspective that I'm sharing. And I remind them, look, I'm going to focus on what your goal is for their show. The byproduct of making money from your show is you are going to grow a community. The byproduct of growing a community is going to be to become an influencer in your in podcasting. The byproduct of becoming an influencer is you're going to make money. Your market, your people that are listening, and the people in the guest seat are going to demand products and services from you. I didn't even get into podcasting to make money from my show. I thought I was going to make it from book sales and professional speaking, which was my career, beginnings of that career 10 years ago. I didn't realize until one person, Lou Diamond, one person in my audience said, hey, Doug, can you teach me how to launch a podcast? That was the first of over 300 people that became clients of our company. And it completely dramatically changed the face of how we focus on goals for our podcast and where the money comes from.
Now, also producing 300 different podcasts. I'm sure you've seen a lot other goals and ways to do this of
Sure.
like podcasting to a book or creating some sort of other asset exploration, community building, stuff like that. How has that changed with AI? And are you seeing any more? Like I'm trying to use it more for curation and like these bigger collections of items that if I've done 50, 100, 500 shows,
Sure.
now all of a sudden there's a different value with AI than there was 2 years ago when I had to pay somebody overseas to go through and listen and type out the transcripts and try and find the gold in these 500 episodes. Have you seen that shifting this year?
Absolutely. I mean, think about AI as the world's greatest personal assistant. All of the things that you want to do that you never thought you could do before, you can do very, very easily. It used to be, even at the beginning part of AI, that you had to feed it text content. Now you can actually drop in an audio or video, and it will not only transcribe but answer the questions that you want. So think about blog posts. Think about book writing. Think about taking all of your content creation and developing a whole other media, because people consume content differently. Some people love video content. Some people love audio content. You could take your audio content, you could load it through AI and create an AI generated image so that that person will actually create a video and talk to your audience, a much better looking AI version of me than I could possibly ever create. You're a good looking guy, Mike. So I would stick with you on the video. But for me, this ugly mug, it's got to go to somebody else in AI. So all of these opportunities, there's so many opportunities for you to use AI as a great tool, whether it's through blog posts, additional writing, video content, short form video content, text form content. So many different things that you can do using AI as a tool.
Now, I want to ask you about some of those. Have you found anybody having success with, either a faceless or a voiceless podcast where you don't even have to speak the words? If you don't like the sound of your voice recorded, which is probably one of the top 5 things that I hear from people.
People get over that. You got to people got to get over that. I don't like the sound of my voice. Well, I didn't like the sound of my voice either when I first started podcasting. When I first started DJing 35 years ago or whatever it was, I didn't like the sound of my voice. And maybe I have an irritating voice, maybe I don't. Some people, whoever it is that's listening, obviously has been listening to us for 10 years, and they still love us if they keep coming back over and over again. Uh, have I seen it effective? It's so new that I would say it's too early in the game for me to say, is an AI generated piece of content more valuable than your content that you're creating using your voice, your likeness on your own? I don't know. I think the jury's still out. I think if it's creating content where you wouldn't have created content, yes, I think it's going to be more successful. If it's used instead of you, I don't know. I mean, I saw a client of mine, he created an AI generated video using his audio, and he was putting it out on YouTube. And I thought, well, that's kind of disingenuous. I mean, it feels like it's not really you, but maybe that's what's going to be acceptable in the future, is that somebody can pretty it up so it looks better than they did. I don't know. I personally, I think it's going a little bit further than you need to go.
I totally agree with you on that. I think that if you use AI to translate it into another language or something, and all of a
Cool.
sudden the video has you speaking the Spanish, that's awesome. That's something, like you said, reaching an audience you've never been able to reach before. It's for the betterment of the audience and not necessarily just trying to be authentic. And I think if you take pieces of this, like if you're not a great writer and you want to use AI to write the script and then you deliver it,
Totally.
maybe that works. Or maybe if for whatever reason can't be on camera or you don't have a voice, using a computer generated voice can take the place of yours. But I think it's when you try to do all of it, when you have ChatGPT generate a script and then the voice read it and VO create the video or something. Now you're just creating fake stuff for fake audiences with fake results.
Well, I completely agree with you. I think that you have to be genuine with the content that you're putting out. And if you're not genuine, how do you expect your clients to not only show up but be ready to pay top dollar for your services? I'm not looking to create a product using my podcasting as a tool so that I can create the least expensive product that's out there. That's a race to the bottom with my competition. I want to create a premium service charge a premium amount, deliver personal service, and use AI as a tool that will help people to further engage their audience or further engage their guests, or whatever their goal is, help them to reach their goal using AI as the tool. But I don't see it right now, at least, replacing human beings. And by the time it does replace human beings, maybe I will be too old to care. I don't really know. Or maybe I'll be able to use it as another tool.
I just think it's kind of exponentially harder, right? We've seen things through like the Google kickoff event that they generated all of the sound effects and voices in these video clips all completely with AI. And I'm sure they had people, highly paid video professionals, working a lot of hours to make that happen. And I think if you use it to tell a creative story that you couldn't otherwise tell, or use it, work really hard to make something original with these tools that way, I think that's still possible. But it's just the less human you are, the harder it is to be authentic or genuine.
Well, and let's look at it as a support tool for a moment. If you are not really schooled or really, feel like you're doing a compelling job of putting together email content, if you could take your list and send them an email that's AI generated because you're not good at writing and you want to generate an AI generated email to send out to your list, I think it's a great opportunity for you to get your podcast in front of an audience that maybe you would be void of presenting to them because you're not great at writing emails. So AI can be a great tool. We use it all the time for writing response emails. A number of people on my team are overseas. So it enhances how they speak to our clients, and they use it all the time as a support for them as customer facing team members, so that they are using the right words and feeling and hoping that the client is feeling comfortable with how they're saying it as well.
Well, I wanted to go there next too, which is some of the AI tools that you're using either for sales or marketing in your business. I think, podcast production tools we can talk about if you got a couple of favorites, but I think anybody that's already podcasting would kind of know about those. What about stuff outside of that? Is there any, you mentioned I love Grammarly, just fixing up grammar issues and stuff, or Whisper to dictate stuff so I don't have to type it, or other types of AI for outreach and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Some of the software, the apps that we're using are now proprietary apps that we've created based upon what we know that we need our show notes to look and feel like, the voice, the nature of the formatting, all of the things that we need. And it was a little bit more effective than just going into a chat GPT and typing in something and saying, hey, kick out some show notes. So some of the stuff that we're doing is proprietary, which is great. Other stuff that we use Monday.com as our project management software. They have a lot of great AI generated features, as well as something like Calendly, our automated scheduling platform. We use a lot of the AI features that Calendly has to create the notifications, the reminder emails, the confirmations that go out, the follow up that goes out after that. And so
we just nerd out on that for a second. As a podcaster, Calendly changed my life.
Oh my gosh.
Hours a week of back and forth of like, does this time work? Does this work? And like, hey, don't forget to show up here. And then afterwards, here's the links to follow and the reviews. And just, that alone is probably, 3 to 5 hours a week.
Well, the collection of all this information, I've done 1,600 episodes of our Nice Guys on Business podcast over the last 10 years. And every one of them, first we started with Acuity, and then we moved over to Calendly, and all of our clients that are new onboarding now are using Calendly because we tell them this is the only way that we can help you with guest acquisition. We don't want to go back and forth and be the trio between you, me, and the guest trying to go back and forth. So we insist upon it at this point because it's such a great tool. And that was even before AI put its tentacles into the calendar automated programs that are out there. And Calendly is a amazing. And any automated tool, whether it's Calendly or something like Doodle or When Available, there's a number of group scheduling platforms that are out there. They're really great tools, and AI throwing itself into the game of calendar automation has very, very much helped the process. Plus things like even just Google Docs. All of the stuff that we are now touching has been made so much easier because AI is a support tool.
Yeah, it is awesome. I'm wondering where you think it is going. So I kind of have seen this trend of like more, bigger, faster. Like you said, everybody wants to put out more episodes, more posts, more um, downloads, and all that stuff. But I think that only scales so far. And with AI, we've kind of passed that benchmark. So I'm hoping that people circle back to what you were talking about of like making money and connecting with the right people and not just number go up metrics. But how do you see it playing out in the next 5, 10, 15 years, specifically in podcasting? Is there more shows or does it get overwhelmed with the system? Do we have to rebuild something? What do you think it looks like?
Well, I think about the analogy that I can use is I think about when I started DJing in the mid 1980s. I started with records, it moved to cassettes, and then it moved to MP3s, and then it moved to a big systems into littler systems, and then it moved to streaming audio. And what's back right now is vinyl, the authentic sound of
Yeah.
analog. I think about how AI is being used as a tool, and I want to share how I think AI is being abused as a tool. I don't think that there are places for everything to be AI dominated. I think that the human element is still important. Prospecting emails using AI, great. But at some point, doesn't a human being need to get involved in the sale, or maybe not? I mean, I don't know. So for me, I think that AI is showing itself, and I think it's very healthy that we're going through this process. It's showing a lot more podcast producers in the game, but ultimately, what it's going to come down to is people are going to see that there still has to be, at least today, a human being that's involved in the process to manage all of the stuff that's going on. So I think it's traveling down the exact right path that it should. It's exploding within podcast production and all of technology, all of industry. It's exploding, but I still think there's got to be somebody in there managing what's going on. And without that, I really feel like we're missing the opportunity here to generate more business, to generate more, to nurture more relationships. Look, if I'm using AI to do all this background stuff, and it allows me to nurture the relationships in my life that much more, I think I benefit from AI, no matter how I'm using it. So I'm going to put my stake in the ground and just say I think it's great. I don't think it's a podcast production eliminator. I think it's just an enhancer of our job until the point where it overwhelms us and it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm out of a job. Maybe then I can retire at that point, which is fine for me. Fine for me.
Well, I don't think so because I think there's this portion of being a good communicator that's still important. And since I have you on here, I think I should probably mention that both of us started as DJs, which I think is awesome. Both of us also had a lot of Sandler training growing up and being a communicator. Is there um, a lesson you think as a podcast host about asking questions or being a communicator or any like tip that maybe your dad would have given to a podcaster or a psychology lesson that you picked up that you still use today?
Well, I think about, all of the lessons that I learned from my dad, and he was a big proponent of learning a system, creating the system, learning it, documenting it, making sure you document the heck out of everything that you're doing, and then seeing if you can duplicate that by selling it to other people. And I think that AI is just a tool that is helping us do all of that faster. However, I do feel like slow and steady wins the race. Don't get into podcast production or podcasting or whatever industry that you're getting into because you want to get rich quick. It still requires effort. It doesn't mean that you have to work more to be successful. I really have been on over the last 10 years in the process of trying to figure out, and hopefully successfully doing this over the last 10 years, of I can do less and make more. If I can create an environment where I'm working 15 or 20 hours a week, doing what I love to do, staying in my zone of genius, delegating the rest of the responsibilities, deleting the rest of the things that I don't think need to be done, and make a significant income, then I'm happy with that. Could I work 80 hours a week and do what I'm doing? Absolutely. Do I want to? Not at 60. I'm on the other side. I want to slow down. I want to make more and do less, and I'm okay with all of that. And if AI can help me enhance that, then more power to it.
One of my favorite Sandler rules: work smarter, not harder. It's
Yep.
a good one. I appreciate that. All right. Now we're going to make you predict out 30 years in the future within our lifetimes. what do you think the world looked like? What sci-fi movie do you think we end up in, or hope we end up in?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be just like The Incredibles, these overweight, very lazy people sitting in chairs, having computers do everything around us. And I'm hoping that's not the case. But the human factor thrown in there, it tells me that people are inherently want to do less. but some people will want to take advantage of that and do less and just feel entitled to be able to make more as a result. Um, I'm hoping that's not the case, but there's too many things that I see where people really don't want to put in the effort to work smarter, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But unfortunately, that might be the direction that most people will go until we don't go that way anymore. Until we see that that's not the reality of what we need to do.
Well, it's an excellent segue, because if you don't want to put in the effort to producing your own podcast, you can go to turnkeypodcast.com and you hire Doug to do the hard work of working smarter for you on your behalf and get your show launched right away. That would be awesome. And don't forget about the Nice Guys on Business podcast as well. A great subscribe there on whatever app you're listening or watching this on would be a good place to start. Doug, anything else? How can we help you, or you help us?
No, I appreciate that. I just enjoyed talking about the early stages of my career growing up with Dave Sandler as my dad, sitting around the table, the kitchen table or dining room table, watching him build the early stage of the submarine and all of the different processes that have involved Sandler. I've had so many great relationships that I built with Sandler folks through the years, and that was the original reason why, even though you create great content of your own, Mike, and you have some great guests on your show, our connection is through Sandler, and I really appreciate you having me on your show to at least be able to take a chance and talk about that a little.
Well, it's a cool moment for me. I mentioned I was a part of the Sandler Spawn Club for over 30 years, when my dad bought a franchise from your dad in 1994.
Wow.
Right before he passed away. So amazing connection. You're definitely part of the Sandler Spawn Club. So happy to help anytime. Good to talk to you. And I get to be on your show. We're going to record tomorrow, so we don't know when these are going to come out, but go check out the Nice Guys on Business podcast and a couple of nice guys talking over there. Thanks for listening. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Go to avenue9.com if you want to find out how to make your content engage better, have a better, build a better community with your audience, or just connect with your message in an authentic way while amplifying it with AI. It's avenue9.com. See you next time.